to the Silhouettes of Success podcast with your host, successful entrepreneur, broker, and business mentor, Amber Weitzer. Because success comes in all shapes, sizes, and styles, the Silhouettes of Success podcast is shining the light on industrious women with a collection of curated conversations of intentional inspiration designed to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, feed your soul, and gift you with actionable insights directly from inspirational, everyday women who've shown tenacity, grit, and grace, having taken on the challenges in their lives and business and won. Remarkable, down-to-earth, and relatable, Amber and her guests will share with you uplifting and extraordinary real-life success stories, motivational ideas that just might help spark something within you. With the deepest desire to serve you, help you grow so you can begin to shine the light that will illuminate your very own silhouette of success. So, let's get to it.
Hello, and welcome to the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success. Today, I'm bringing you another shining silhouette of success with an inspirational journey to share. Today, we will talk with an exceptional and contemporary woman who has and is accomplishing great things. With her strong background in business and desire to serve, she embodies all of the qualities, skills, and talents to help provide you with extra inspiration to spark something within you that just might help you get one step closer to your goals or dreams. So please help me welcome Vicky Townsend, CEO of National Association of Divorce Professionals. Hello, Vicky.
Oh, thank you, Amber. Thank you for inviting me to be here today. I'm really excited about this topic.
Well, excellent. Thank you for being here and taking time to share your silhouette of success story with us.
I am looking forward to it.
Wonderful. Vicky, to help illustrate your silhouette of success for our audience, would you like to share a little bit more about your background and what inspired you to create and form NADP?
Oh, I would love to. When I got out of school back in the day, I worked for an ad agency in Miami. It was a woman-owned ad agency down there. At the time, it was the second largest advertising agency. Oops, my alarm is going off. My pause.
That's what we call real life. I love it.
Billy Joel. My apologies. I thought I turned.
No, that's
Can
okay.
we edit that out?
We keep it raw and real here. So,
well, thank you.
Oh,
Well,
yes.
Let me go back to where I started, which was after I got out of school. I went to work at an advertising agency down in Miami that was a woman-owned agency. I talk about a woman that was such an incredible boost to women. She was the vision that I always had for a very strong woman. And so I worked there I was interning there for a couple of years and then was there for 5 years and ended up in the radio business where I was involved in the sales of a large broadcasting company. So we managed to merge two of my passions, which is music and advertising, into one job, which I just felt at the time was so amazing. Loved that. But unfortunately, my marriage fell apart. After some time, I remarried and got into a different kind of business, which was just not something that I enjoyed or loved. So I started a company called Inspiration University, which was very much similar to your wonderful podcast, but they were live events where we wanted to inspire women to reach within themselves, to find their greatness so that they could become financially and emotionally stable and moving into their own silhouette of success. Sadly, my marriage also ended in another divorce. And because I thought that it was going to be something that was similar to what I had been through before, I found out that I really was behind the eight ball. I never seemed to understand the process. I made some mistakes that cost me 5 figures. And I just decided that it was a process that, is labyrinthine by design and almost impossible for even somebody like myself, which I'm a pretty smart girl. I'm not, the world's biggest genius, but, I should be able to figure out the system and I couldn't. So I just started to develop a business around, it wasn't even actually a business, it was a website designed to help people that are going through this process, help them make better decisions. And I had podcasts at the time. I had Facebook Lives, and I was doing, at the time, Twitter had something called Periscope. I don't know if they still do those or not. But I had every form of getting help to other people going through the divorce process I tried to do. And then one day, I met my partner, Liz Becker, who's an amazing woman, and she was a divorce communications coach, and she worked with families on their communication skills and getting through the divorce process. We met and we started to talk about how really the big hole in this whole thing was that the professionals that work with families that go through the divorce process really weren't communicating to each other. And they didn't have a network and a toolbox that they could pull from on a broad level to bring educated and competent professionals to a process that's so complex. The reason that I didn't do well on the divorce that I went through in 2013 was because it's a completely unique thumbprint to the one that I had gone through in 2003. It required different professionals, different mindsets, different issues. And so that was what kind of sparked the creation of the National Association of Divorce Professionals. It was about helping the professionals provide a better result for their clients by learning about all of the issues that they face. So therefore, we came up with the National Association of Divorce Professionals about 6 years ago, launched our first chapter 5 years ago. And we've been growing steadily ever since. And we're really excited about the impact that we're making with families that are going through this process.
Wow. So I just took a page and a quarter of notes, so I mute myself because typically I am just writing as fast as possible. What a journey in that one component, right, of your life. Obviously, we're multifaceted with all these other things going on, but just to put that in perspective, wow. It was interesting something you said earlier about one of your previous positions was you were able to marry your two of your passions, the music and the advertising, and that was great. But then fast forward into because of your experiences, what you went through on the more personal side, which have probably pulled in some of that, take it to work type emotion, that you were able to really hone in and bring something to the rest of us that is so beneficial. That process you mentioned in visiting with Liz, when you all sat down and you really drilled into, you had all of this going on with the communication and the social media platforms and offering all of that out to the public. But what was that process like when the light bulb went off? When you discovered the niche or the unique component that was missing that you have now filled?
Well, it was really interesting because we were at an Irish pub in Fort Lauderdale on a dreary, rainy day, and we literally wrote this down on a napkin. Liz had been speaking at, these divorce conferences or expos, whatever you wanted to call them, where people thought it was a great idea, myself included, to have these events where people could physically show up and meet experts in the area of, the legal matters, the financial matters, the mental health issues, as well as, how to deal with the sale and division of their mutually held assets, primarily around, their residential home, but there's businesses and art collections and car collections and tchotchke collections. So Liz was always tapped because she's a great speaker to speak at these events. And so when we were at that Irish pub that day, she said to me, she goes, when I go and speak at these events, the public rarely, it shows up in dribs and drabs, but the people that are doing all of the communication and talking to each other for business are the professionals to professionals, because that's where the referral cycle in the divorce process really comes from. It comes from trusted advisors that family knows, because going out to, the public in this is a very personal topic, and people aren't just, going to go on Facebook and talk about how their marriage is falling apart. They go to trusted advisors that they trust with their legal matters or their money or their mental health and well-being, their marriage counselors. It was obvious to her at that time that the hole in this business model was that the professionals needed an outlet to get together, educate each other, learn about how the process works so that they could serve their clients better. So that's what we kind of created. We created a hub, a place for them to find resources for their clients that they know are vetted and educated around the divorce process, or sometimes they will be a resource for families that are going through that process. So it works out really well. And then they create, relationships, because this industry, it's so highly personal. And like I said earlier, every divorce has its own unique thumbprint. Just in my own case, mine were totally different. Each one needed their own special set of professionals that helped me through it. And if they didn't understand at the time, which a lot of them didn't, but that I was in the process of divorce and that some of those decisions that I made had real implications, including one that cost me about 5 figures because I just didn't know how to manage it.
That is just groundbreaking. So you mentioned the chapters that you have and the growth that you've, of course, experienced, and hearing you talk through the creation and the need that you're filling. Where are your chapters and where are you targeting as far as opening new chapters? Where are you currently?
We've got about 40 chapters across the country. We're starting them now in Canada and in the UK and soon to be France. So we're going worldwide. We've got a national chapter where it's everybody from across the country and now from Canada and the UK and France. But we've got some really unique chapters that we're starting. We're in the process. This is our first one. It's a French chapter, and it's in the United States for professionals that serve the French-speaking population. How does this work? Well, when somebody comes to the United States and they don't speak the language, the culture, the systems, they don't understand the names and how our systems work. It works much better when they have a professional to work with that speaks their language. So our first chapter regarding language is our French chapter that will be all of the people that serve the divorcing population of French expats. So we'll be doing more of that type of chapter, something that can serve families across different languages. We're even working towards working with families that have special needs, either children or disabled adults, because they go through divorce at a much higher rate than those that don't have that issue in their family.
Wow, it just opens the mind and the eyes up to all of the different possibilities for you and for you to help everyone. That's amazing.
Yeah, we're trying to make a difference by educating the professionals about it so that that information can be worked into their clients' needs. One of the things that happens when people are going through a divorce is our bodies are flooded with cortisol, and that's that fight or flight hormone. It causes you to have this fog. It's really a very sticky hormone, and it creates an issue where you're not making good decisions because parts of your brain and your body, systems in your body are shut down so that you could get up and run away from the bear. It also keeps you from making good and sound decisions. There's a saying that says in the criminal courtroom, you have very bad people on their very best behavior. And in the divorce family law courtroom, you have very good people on their very worst behavior. And so that worst behavior is caused, mostly by cortisol flood, but also makes it very difficult to make really good decisions. So having a professional that understands that helps their clients understand that they're not really making the best decisions for them until they get rid of that cortisol flood. and having professionals that really provide value, that extra value and support during a really challenging time is really what we're trying to do here. Is we're really on a mission to make this a better result for families everywhere.
What an absolute gift. I hear the passion in your voice when you talk through all of the elements and all of the opportunities to just serve somebody at an individual level, but then at a mass level and now globally,
Yes,
as you
absolutely.
shared.
And
Yes.
our professionals prepare every day to work with a family on their worst day. And that's the value that we want to provide to families everywhere is a team of professionals that truly understand all of the things that are happening in their lives.
Wow. Well, I am looking forward to sharing this, of course, in the resource section of your episode, but also I think there's probably 3 or 4 people that came to mind immediately, even with the French speaking, that I'd love to share this with personally for that connection to connect with you about opportunities to participate. So wow, Vicky, we could spend hours just talking about that because it definitely impacts every component of our society and our lives. But I want to go ahead and move on a little bit too. Giggling a little bit when your alarm went off, but that's something. It's so funny. So I think we'll keep that in there, not edit that out. Because a question always is, as a lot of women or our audience, men and women, whoever is listening, we welcome, of course. But sometimes we see an individual and we think, "Ah, how did they get there? Or how do they do it? How do they do everything they do in the day to be at this level?" So tell us a little bit about a day in the life of Vicky once that alarm clock goes off and the workday kicks in. Are you more structured with your schedule? Have some things on the calendar, but is it more of a spontaneous? Talk a little bit about a day in the life for you.
Well, I'm up always at the crack of dawn naturally. That alarm was actually a snooze that I had put on for this call. I look at my calendar the night before so I know what I need to do, whether I'm going to be on a Zoom call and have to dress from the waist up or whether I can stay in my bathrobe for a while or sweatshirts and jeans are a good part of my wardrobe these days. So I kind of just assess what I'm going to do. And I do set alarms on my phone for every call I have to be on or Zoom call or presentation, or if I have to be somewhere, which I try not to do too much these days. But I do set up my calendar daily with alarms that remind me that I need to move on to the next thing. So that keeps me on top of it. I do wear a lot of hats. We all do here at the NADP because we are a small and, yet growing company. So you are kind of talking to the chief cook and bottle washer sometimes, and everybody in my company has to be able to do a lot of things. So I look for national speakers for our national chapter meetings. I look for marketing companies to work with on our marketing workshops, and I look for good leadership to launch new chapters of the NADP. So we're working really hard to accomplish a lot of goals. Sometimes I'm focused on just our national calls, but sometimes I'm focused on, posting everything to social media. So it kind of goes back and forth and back and forth. But I do structure myself with my calendar and I do use my alarms to just keep me on track.
Yes, that helps.
That's
There's
the only thing
yeah,
that keeps me from missing calls these days.
right. Yes, absolutely. Do you find yourself working more since the pandemic or about the same? What do you think? What
Well,
would you gauge?
yeah, that's a good question. I would say I'm working more. I mean, I've always worked from home, so that's been good. I had an office in my apartment. I am taking care of my mother who's on home hospice and living with me right now. So that has changed the way I do a lot of things. So I do have help during the day. So I hunker down and do as much as I can. And then in the evenings, if my mother decides to go to bed early and I don't have any place to go or anything to do, I will crack open my laptop and answer emails and, post on, social media or connect to people on LinkedIn. So I need to have better boundaries with my time and allow myself to escape from work a little bit more than I do. So I'm going to guess I work a good 10 to 12-hour days. Easy.
Yeah, those boundaries, especially, you sharing a little bit more about everything that you have going on right now. Those boundaries become very important, but it's a learned skill, and it's
It is.
it's a hard
Absolutely.
skill to stay dedicated to with a consistent level. So I hear you on that. So, Vicky, share positive adjustments that you've made in your environment throughout, maybe even before the pandemic, but throughout the pandemic, that did help support your growth, maybe of your company or your dreams or goals. What are maybe a couple of things that come to mind?
Well, I'll tell you, all of our chapters met in person. And so that was a very important part of what, or at least, pre-pandemic. It was an important thing that we thought, it never occurred to us we would not be able to do that again. So what we ended up doing, and because we were big Zoom users, because all of us at the NADP are all virtual, we all work from home. So we were using Zoom for our leadership team meetings, for our internal meetings. So Zoom was something that we were comfortable with, but we did not realize that we were going to have to move to Zoom immediately in order to survive and to provide value and to keep those connections and relationships strong and keep our members learning every month about the divorce process. It was very important to us to keep that going. So through the Zoom platform, quite frankly, they've really actually saved our business, because I don't know how we would have moved forward without it. So we have set up all of our chapters in their own Zoom rooms at the time that they meet. So Zoom has been a lifesaver for us and has made our business possible. Our members originally, were kind of, well, we'll come back as soon as, the pandemic, thinking they were going to be coming back in like June of last year. And now they realize that they may not be able to do that until late 2021 or early 2022. So they're beginning to really embrace the fact that this is the new networking, connection, relationship platform. So we were grateful that there was technology like Zoom, because if it hadn't been for that, we would not have survived.
I think it's sometimes we sit back and think we are very blessed to have had that exposure to XYZ going into the pandemic, not knowing that it would be as valuable
Right.
for survival, if you will. So I can definitely appreciate where you're coming from on that. You were pre-positioned in that respect. It's great to watch other people be able to get a little bit more flexibility and versatility into how things may be in the future and embrace it, as you say, because sometimes that's difficult to do.
Yes.
Change can
Yes.
be difficult.
It was uncomfortable because, it wasn't face to face. And, people do have Zoom fatigue, but at some point you have to learn to embrace it and understand that this is going to be our new normal for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Vicky, we're going to take a quick sponsor break, hear from our episode sponsor, and we will be right back.
Is it time to sell your home? Build that dream home? Right size? Or are you ready to invest in real estate? Couture Real Estate Firm is a local female-owned independent brokerage laser-focused on services exclusively tailored to our clients' real estate goals. With our forward-thinking business model, we have a fully mobile, luxury real estate concept allowing convenience, flexibility, efficiency for our clients in style. Amber Weitzer, broker-owner of Couture Real Estate Firm, has over 20 years in the real estate industry and is a second-generation broker. She provides straightforward business practices, integrity, and intelligence with a commitment to a high-touch, consistent customer service experience. We take great pride in our reputation as a strong, referral-based brokerage. Discretion, tenacity, respect, and proactive business practices have earned Couture Real Estate Firm a loyal, repeat client business with a trusted global partner network. We strive for ultimate client satisfaction with successful results, doing it with class, consciousness, and a little avant-garde. In addition to serving our clients and vendor partners, we are extremely honored to be actively engaged in supporting the communities we serve by promoting small businesses, schools, and nonprofits. Real estate is direct sales business at its core, and we are highly trained sales professionals with the Mike Ferry organization, adding dimension to the industry. Passionate about customer service, dedicated to client satisfaction, and driven to achieve successful results for our clients. Call Couture Real Estate Firm today at 817-233-7239 to discuss your real estate goals.
So, Vicky, welcome back. Let's talk a little bit about intrinsic motivators for you, or do you embrace a form of accountability to stay on track with your goals? And what suggestions can you share with the audience?
You know what? I've got to get probably better at that than I have been, because this last year we have been working really hard on developing a new website. Sometimes when you have timeline goals, you've got to be willing to move that timeline a little bit depending upon, how much you kind of stress the system. So we've been putting the priority on building a new website, and it's hard. Building a website for a membership association and a membership platform is very, very complicated. And we wanted to take it even more into the future. So we've developed a website through some wonderful developers that we work with that is going to make our website similar to a feel of a combination between Facebook and LinkedIn. So I look at the goal of 2020 was to have this website developed and launched. So because we have such a specialty, we've learned to let the goals that we had for the timeline, which was, January 1st, we've learned to let that go for excellence in product. So the goal was that we would have a brand new website by the end of 2020, but we were flexible enough with ourselves and with each other to say, we want an amazing website for our members with an incredible experience. So we had to let go of what we thought were our goals, which was a timeline based as opposed to an experience based. So we've been kind of moving the goalposts a little bit, and we kind of hold each other accountable. We do use each other as, hey, you said this was going to be happening. What do you need from me? How can I support you? We do keep a timeline of what our expectations are, and we always check in to see, how can I support you to get that accomplished?
When we talk about goals, sometimes in our mind, it's either achieve or fail, achieve or fail. But I love how you frame that, because that's more what I have learned over probably the last 5 years, is not to compromise on those goals when it is something that you're talking about, that type of project or that type of situation or business model or whatever you're working on, not to compromise for the quality.
Right.
You put so much blood, sweat, tears, finances into it that they are truly your goals. And so sometimes it's better not to rush them.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
You have sometimes what's that saying? We make plans and God laughs.
Right.
And, for us, it is about the experience for our members and what they need for their own business. And we knew that having an outrageously bold website that had the concept of creating that LinkedIn, Facebook feel, we had big dreams. We knew that. And we've had to learn to keep moving and being flexible when the decisions were about the client experience on our website. So it would have been really nice to have had it up and running by January 1st, but it's going to be closer to February 15th. So I don't feel like we made a bad decision. I don't feel like we should be admonished for it, but we just have to find ways to support each other through it, and to say, okay, this is a great idea. And, how do I help you get that accomplished? So that's kind of what we're working on. And we're showing each other some grace.
That's excellent. I am excited and looking forward to seeing that. So, congratulations ahead of time.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yes. So, Vicky, taking a look at the other side of your silhouette of success, and for our audience, get ready to take some more notes. Do you have a favorite book, genre, or author that inspires you, or that you turn to feed your soul or relax and unwind?
Oh gosh. Well, my favorite book is The Four Agreements. That one is like, I have that one in my Audible that I listen to when I'm driving, when I'm, vacuuming my house, when I'm, do you name it. I listen to that one. But I've been working really hard on, developing communities. There's a book that I've been reading called The Art of Community that talks about, the elements of successful businesses like mine and what I need to create to accomplish an engaged community that constantly builds each other up and the elements behind finding the right leaders. And that's the thing that I think that we all need to really understand is that you can continue to grow in your industry and continue to read good books that can help you move your business forward. And don't forget that the business model that you may have had 4, 5, 6 years ago can be tweaked, changed, reinvigorated, and repurposed into something else if it's not working for you. So there's just so much out there that's available. Another good one, just from a marketing perspective, is Story Brand. I don't know if you've ever talked about that with Donald Miller about, your messaging and how to get your message out there and how to motivate people to do business with you. So those are just a few of the ones that I'm involved with recently.
Wonderful. Thank you. So, again, making sure we will include those because I've written them down here. They all sound timely, but very intriguing. So, thank you for that. Vicky, as we wrap up here, and it has been educational, amazing, and inspirational visiting with you and learning more about you and your silhouette of success and what you're doing. But in keeping the promise to share intentional inspiration, would there be a one piece of key go-to advice that maybe someone shared with you that has carried you through the years that you reflect on, or something you'd want to share with us?
Another book that I think is really important to everybody that's on this and listening, it's called, I think it's The Body Keeps Score, and how we deal with stress. And we talked about the cortisol flood that we all experience as we're going through difficult times in our marriage or in our business or death of a family member or car crashes that your kids are in. The situations are endless, but it's how you deal with that stress that will impact how your body is able to fight disease and all of those other things. So learning simple techniques to wash away that cortisol flood is really important. And the best ways are honestly through yoga and through meditation. And if we could all learn those skills, and it's not easy for me because my brain is always going in a million different directions all at the same time. But if you can learn how to deal with stress in your life and learn how to get the cortisol flood out of your brain through things like meditation and yoga that have been clinically, scientifically proven to help make that cortisol flood go away, the better you're able to function in your body and in your business, because it takes such a toll physically on your body. So that would be the best advice that I've received is to help yourself manage that flood. I called it when I was going through my divorce, I called it that I was in this fog for 2 years. And that fog was the cortisol flood from the stress of my divorce. So if we can all learn how to manage that a little bit better in our lives, we could make a big difference in our businesses and just in our day-to-day existence.
That's priceless. Thank you for that. Thank you. Again, timely, very timely. It's been a very crazy last year or so. So thank you for that. Thank you very much. So Vicky, on another note, as we close out here, where can our audience go to support you and your continued success?
Your listeners are any of the professionals that work with the divorcing population in the areas of law. And there's a lot of areas that touch in this process. In finance, people that touch their money, people that deal with their mental health and well-being, whether that's marriage counseling or individual therapy, or people that deal with helping them distribute or sell their mutually held assets like real estate. We would love to have them as members of the NADP, and that's the NADP.com. And for your members that are your listeners that might be considering the divorce process, we are happy to connect you with professionals that are vetted and are really on a daily basis learning something about the divorce process so that they can serve their clients going through it in a better and kinder way. So go to the www.thenadp.com and you can connect with us there.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And again, those will be highlighted so our listeners and our audience can connect with you as well. Vicky, thank you once again for sharing your time with us, the depth of your experience, and your silhouette of success story. It has been a genuine pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. And I too am honored to have been chosen to be on your podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Silhouettes of Success podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out and join us for all the new episodes. We are here for you and with you. We encourage you to share this podcast on all your socials and pass on the light to help illuminate another silhouette of success. Amber would love to hear from you, and you can find her on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or head over to amberweitzer.com. Let's connect. Help us all shine and leave us a review too. To find out the latest ways to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, and gain actionable insights, subscribe at amberweitzer.com. We are honored, humbled, and full of joy that you've tuned in. Remember, you are exactly where you need to be, right here with us. This is the Amber Weitzer Podcast, Silhouettes of Success.